Week 4, I had an impressive 13-2 record in my picks. Week 5, I hope it's around the same. However, there's still some things to discuss before we get to the predictions. I'm going to consider this a podcast today because I have no idea how long this is really going to be. So this is a great video that you can listen to when you're maybe eating alone, like when you're trying to, not like that, let me say that again. Maybe when you're eating on your own, like we don't want anyone to distract you or anything, or like on like a lunch break or anything, like, or when you're working out, or maybe when you're maybe near you when you're in a hot tub or something like that. Or maybe when you're just relaxing or something like that. That's just what I recommend. Because podcasts are made for that purpose. They can maybe listen to while you're working out, or maybe, just going for a walk or something. Alright, so things to discuss. We have 3 undefeated teams left in the NFL. We've got the Broncos, we've got the Vikings, and we have the Eagles. Now, what is the source for these teams' success? Meanwhile, we have teams that are 1-3, like the Cardinals and the Panthers. What is up with that? The 2 teams that were in the NFC Championship game last year are starting this year out 1-3. What's the source for these struggles? I'm going to answer both those questions as quick as I can. I don't want to make this too long. The source for the Viking success, it kind of goes a long way. It goes back to the day that Teddy Bridgewater was determined out for the season. Everyone's expected that it was going to be all about Adrian Peterson this year. And the defense would carry them for a while. But then Adrian Peterson goes down. He's out indefinitely. And nobody expects anything from the Vikings anymore. They think it's just be all about the defense and the offense will be able to do anything. However, things change really rapidly, as in days after Teddy Bridgewater was out for the season, they trade the Eagles for Sam Bradford. Clearly, it's working out pretty well. I mean, the Vikings are 4-0. But the source of this success, it's not because of Sam Bradford, it's not because of the defense. It's because none of the experts and none of their own fans expected much out of them. The same thing for the Eagles. I mean, the Eagles basically just gave up a bunch just for Carson Wentz. And the thing was, Carson Wentz wasn't originally supposed to start this season. It was supposed to be Sam Bradford. But then Sam Bradford gets traded to the Vikings, and now Carson Wentz is set to be the starter. Which Carson Wentz is off to a great start. But his first game was against the Browns. And then he played the Bears. Those 2 games. And then he played the Steelers. The game against the Steelers, that's what really is starting to get everyone on the Carson Wentz train. Because the Browns and the Bears, those are not necessarily the 2 best teams at all. I mean, probably the 2 teams with the worst secondaries in the NFL. So basically, he led the Eagles to a big defeat against the Steelers, basically humiliating them. I mean, even Eagles fans themselves weren't even expecting the Eagles to be undefeated at this point. Although there's this one guy usually that says, the Eagles are going to go 19-0 in the next 10 Super Bowls. Exaggeration and exaggeration. I mean, even the famous Eagles YouTuber EDP was like, the Eagles are going 1-15, dog. They're going 1-15. So really, the source of this, the Eagles and Vikings, it's nobody expecting anything out of them. I mean, it's kind of like those Cinderella teams in March Madness that just come out of nowhere because nobody expects anything from them. Nobody takes them seriously. And the Eagles and Vikings have used that to their advantage. That's like what Washington's doing in college football so far this year. I mean, everyone's really riding them off. And now they're number 5 in college football. Anyway, the struggles for the Cardinals and the Panthers. Now, it seems just like yesterday, these 2 teams, they were battling for a spot in Super Bowl 50. And the Panthers just humiliated those Cardinals. with like 7 turnovers in that game. And now this year, they both lost their opening game on a go-ahead field goal inside the last minute. Week 2, they had convincing wins. Week 3, they both lost games that they weren't supposed to. And in Week 4, they both had heartbreaking losses against a division rival. So those two teams are going on the same trend. I mean, they're both 1-3. What's the cause for that? Well, for the Cardinals, it's basically the fact that there's just so much pressure on. Maybe the NFC Championship game last year had something to do with that, because they were just basically humiliated. I mean, Carson Palmer had about 6 turnovers. And plus, everyone was suspecting that this is Larry Fitzgerald's last year and Carson Palmer's last year. And with the Panthers, it's just the lack of secondary after getting rid of Josh Norman. I mean, last week against the Panthers, Julio Jones had 300 receiving yards, a franchise record. And that Panthers secondary was just torched. They're really missing Josh Norman right now. And plus, there's just not a lot of young talent on the Panthers team right now. I mean, sure, there's Cam Newton, but Cam Newton's starting to get into kind of a veteran type of player. Kelvin Benjamin's kind of evolving into that. He's a rising star. And plus, there's no running game for the Panthers right now. In fact, I was listening to a video yesterday about a Panthers fan saying that if he was the GM, he would have drafted Derrick Henry last year in the first round, or at least traded up in the second round to get Derrick Henry. I mean, Jonathan Stewart's been in and out of the lineup lately. I mean, Fozzie Whitaker, Cameron Artis-Payne, they're not the best backup running backs in the world. But I'd say the Panthers need to really invest in a running back either in the offseason or in the draft next year. Now, there's still time for the Panthers or Cardinals to get back into the playoff contention, because they can easily go on a massive winning streak. They can easily win like 6, 7 in a row, because they can easily do that. Or if they lose maybe 3 more in a row, they can just start tanking for a higher draft pick. There's still plenty of time left, so we can't count either of these two teams out just yet. Now on to the Week 5 NFL predictions. Let's start it off. While we're on the discussion, let's start with the Thursday night game, the Cardinals at 49ers. As I said, the Cardinals really need this win. They've had a heartbreaking loss last against the Rams. They were humiliated by the Bills. But I think the Cardinals are going to get back on track, because this is a must-win for Arizona, in my opinion. So I'm picking the Cardinals to win this one on Thursday night. Patriots versus the Browns. Now, this is Tom Brady's return. The Browns have yet to win a game, and they're not going to on Sunday. Tom Brady throws for 5 touchdown passes and a dominating win for the Patriots. Eagles versus Lions. So this is a rematch of one of the Thanksgiving games from last year when Detroit humiliated Philadelphia, which ultimately led to the firing of Chip Kelly. But I think the Eagles are going to rebound this year. I think Carson Wentz is going to really throw right through that Lions secondary. I like the Eagles to win by about 10 to 14 points. I think we're going to see a lot of running action out of Ryan Matthews. We're going to see Carson Wentz go to Jordan Matthews a lot in this game. So I'm going to pick the Eagles to win this one. Bears and the Colts. Now this is the hardest one for me to pick out of all of them, believe it or not. Because both these teams are really struggling as well. I mean, the Bears might as well just tank for a quarterback, because Jay Cutler's probably not going to be on that team next year. Tank for someone like Deshaun Watson or Deshaun Kaiser. However, I think the Colts are going to beat the Bears this week. I just think Andrew Luck is really going to look for T.Y. Hilton. I think T.Y. Hilton's a security blanket right now. And Jack Doyle at tight end. Those are just 2 security blankets. I think he's going to really look for them a lot in this game. I just don't think the Bears secondary is up to par. Titans and Dolphins. This is kind of a crapshoot game. Both these teams only have 1 win on the year. But I'm going to pick the Dolphins in the end, because I think the Dolphins' defense is going to make some plays right toward the end. However, it won't surprise me if the Titans win this one. Redskins and Ravens. The Redskins are now having a 2-game winning streak after starting off the year 0-2. And I like the Redskins to make it 3 in a row. I like them to beat these Ravens. I just think the Ravens are just really overrated right now. Texans versus the Vikings. Now this is the most interesting matchup in the 1 o'clock Eastern time slot out of all these games in that time slot. This is going to be the best one out of the bunch in this time. The Texans, they've lost J.J. Watt for the season, but they were able to get a convincing 27-20 win against the Titans. And the Vikings, they just keep rolling. I think the Vikings are going to get this victory. I think it's going to be really close. I think they're going to have to come from behind in this one. I think their defense will be really heavily relied on this game, especially the secondary with having to cover DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller. I think this Viking secondary is going to have their hands full in this one. But I think the Vikings, I really think that Kyle Rudolph at tight end will be the difference in this game. So I like the Vikings to win by 3 points. Let's go with 31-28. Right, the Jets and the Steelers. Now Ryan Fitzpatrick's had 9 interceptions in the last 2 games. He's going up against a Steelers team that is coming off a big win at home after getting humiliated by Philadelphia the week before. I think the Steelers are going to keep this momentum going. Le'Veon Bell, he's back. The Bell and Williams 1-2 punch. Probably the best 1-2 punch in the whole NFL. And I think they're going to continue that. I mean, you got the weapons of Big Ben and Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, and Wheaton. So I think the Steelers are going to just pounce on these Jets. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to throw 3 more interceptions this one. I think they're going to eventually... I think Todd Bowles is just going to probably see what they can get out of Christian Hackenberg. So I think Christian Hackenberg will find some playing time in this game. So I like the Steelers to pounce on these Jets. All right, Falcons versus Broncos. Now the Falcons got a convincing win against Carolina last week. Now they're going into the Mile High to face the undefeated Broncos. Right now the Falcons are I believe they're a 7-point underdog in this one already. However, last week Matt Ryan and Julio Jones had career games. That's what they needed to beat the Panthers. Will they see a repeat performance? Will we see a repeat performance out of Matt Ryan and Julio Jones? Probably not against this Broncos defense. However, I think that Matt Ryan will do just enough in the second half to pull off the upset. I am picking the Falcons over these Broncos. They're just flying high right now. They've had big wins against the Saints and the Panthers in back-to-back weeks with a 2-game lead in the NFC South division. I think they're going to keep flying high. They're going to upset the Broncos 34-28. Book it. All right, Bengals and Cowboys. Now this one I'm really intrigued to see. Andy Dalton and Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's a really rising star in Dallas right now, covering for Tony Romo. I think this is going to be a really hard-fought game. I like Ezekiel Elliott to get about 120 yards in this game. However, I think Dak Prescott is going to throw 2 interceptions, and it will prove the Cowboys costly. I like the Bengals to win a hard-fought game. An average scoring game, about 24-20. 24-20. I like the Bengals to get a big win in Jerry World. Bills versus the Rams. Now, I think both the front sevens on both these teams are going to have their hands full. You got LaShawn McCoy on the Bills. You got Todd Gurley on the Rams, which is going to make a busy day for both these teams' front seven. It's going to be interesting to see these running backs go at it. Don't be surprised if all the fantasy points are scored off the running game. However, I have to go with the Rams. They're just flying high, especially on the defensive side of the football. And they're coming off a big upset win against division rivals, the Cardinals. And they've already upset Seattle this year. The Rams are just a team of momentum right now. Sure, the fans are regretful. They feel regretful for the Rams about giving up so much for Jared Goff when Keenum isn't doing too bad right now. However, I feel like Jared Goff has got to play eventually if the Rams want to get to the playoffs. All right, Chargers versus the Raiders. This is going to be a great one to see. 2 teams in California going at it. However, I think Philip Rivers is going to have a decent day in the passing game. However, I just think this Chargers secondary is going to have their hands full with Michael Crabtree and Amari Cooper. And I think the Chargers offensive line is also going to have their hands full. I just think the Raiders are going to win this one in the second half as the Chargers feel so much pressure. I'm going to pick the Raiders to have to come from behind in this one. However, the Chargers will crack under the pressure, I believe. Because they're going to have their hands full really in the second half. All right, Giants versus the Packers. Now, this is going to be a great one to see. Packers coming off a bye. And the Giants, they're looking really depleted right now after 2 straight losses to division rivals, the Redskins, and the Vikings on Monday Night Football. I mean, Odell Beckham's not happy right now. He's getting frustrated. He has no touchdowns so far this year. Odell Beckham wants to get back on track. He needs to get back on track for the Giants to have a chance moving forward. To look for Odell Beckham to get completely angry in this one. I think Odell Beckham's got to be a big playmaker. Eli Manning's got to look for Odell Beckham. But I think the Packers are going to still win this game in the end. I like the Lambeau crowd to be the huge difference in this one. Finally, the Monday night game, the Buccaneers versus the Panthers. Now, this is not the best Monday night match they can come up with. I mean, who would not want to see Falcons and Broncos Monday night? Or even Bengals Cowboys? I mean, getting to see Dak Prescott on Monday night. Who would not want that? There could have been so many better options for this one. But we could stay with the Buccaneers and the Panthers. 2 1-3 teams. Or I'm going to pick the Panthers in this one because they look like the better team right now. I just feel like Cam Newton, now he realizes that the pressure's on, and I think he's going to turn it up pretty soon. And this is going to be a great start for him. I like the Panthers to win this one huge. Really convincingly. I'm going to go bold and say the Panthers are going to win. I'm going to say a blowout win of 45-10. All right, so those of you who even scored at home, I got the Cardinals over the 49ers, Patriots over the Browns, Eagles over the Lions, Colts over the Bears, Dolphins over the Titans, Redskins over the Ravens, Vikings over the Texans, Steelers over the Jets, Falcons over the Broncos, Bengals over the Cowboys, Rams over the Bills, Raiders over the Chargers, Packers over the Giants, and the Panthers over the Buccaneers. Well, that's going to do it for your Week 5 NFL predictions. Feel free to comment below who your picks are for the week. We can use some more comments in the comment section. Also, like and subscribe to the channel. Share this video with your friends. Share this video with as many people as you can on the social media websites, the Facebooks, the Twitters, the Instagrams, the Snapchats, the whatever. Anyway, follow my sports account at JB Talk Sports. I also wanted to announce that the baseball playoffs are starting tonight with the wild card games. The Blue Jays versus the Orioles. I'm going to pick the Blue Jays in that one. I just think there's so much hitting power in the Blue Jays lineup. There's no way they can lose in the wild card, at least in my opinion. I have not kept up with baseball a lot lately. And also, tomorrow night's wild card game, the Giants versus the Mets. I'm giving the edge to Madison Bumgarner and the experience on the Giants. And they've come from this process before. They just did it 2 years ago. And I think they're going to do it again. I think they're going to get by the Mets. I think it's going to be a really runs me at a premium that one. I'm going to pick the Giants to win that one 3-1. And as far as Blue Jays versus Orioles, I'm going to pick the Blue Jays to win. It's going to be a lot of runs in this one. I'm going to pick a high scoring of runs. I'm going to say 12-10. All right, so we also got some baseball in there. All right, that's all I have for you today. Have a wonderful time watching the baseball if you are, or enjoy watching the games this weekend. Have a good day, everybody. I'll see you next time.